Hello and welcome to Plymouth Pavilions for another live stream here from the Devon Business Show 2023. It's really getting busy and you can hear the noise. I want to say, will you please be quiet? No, they've really not paid any attention to me throughout the entire morning, so I don't think they will start now. We'd like to say hello to some people before we get on with our next interview. Hello to our fellow Chambers of Commerce. I don't know, does that mean Chambers of Commerce? No, probably not. Exeter Chamber of Commerce are here, the Tavistock and District Chamber of Commerce are here, and also hello to the Paignton and District Chamber of Commerce. They're here as well. Do come down to Plymouth Pavilions, say hello to them, and also hello to our wonderful exhibitors that are here throughout the day, including, but in no particular order, the likes of Wildanet, who are very proudly our purpose sponsor. Hello, Matt from Wildanet. How are you doing? Good. We also have with us here from the University of Plymouth, Rich Adams. Hi, Rich.
Good morning. That's a lot of energy you've got going already.
I'm not going to say what's in that cup, all right, but it might not be water. And also from PL1 Events, somebody who was just trying to put me off, because that's kind of what he does in the background. Mark Buckingham, the legend of all things live in the region. How are you doing? You all right?
Hello, Paul. Lovely to be here.
You're not normally on this end.
Thank you for inviting me. No, I'm not. I'm normally behind the camera.
You are. So we're going to
promise to behave.
We're going to pick on you today. We're going to pick on you today. Let's start with Wildanet. Thank you very much for being one of our partners here. These events are still very important to hold, aren't they? Why are they so?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just understanding what is available to businesses.
We don't know. You're very quiet, aren't you? Let's tap that a minute. Is that gone very quiet? Let's have a look.
How's that now?
That's
Is that coming through?
That's
better?
There you go, yes, yeah.
Great stuff.
What we should have done is we should have got PL1 Events to do this. It would have been a lot easier. So yes, so carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, these events are so important at getting people together, getting businesses together and seeing what opportunities are out there and just meeting other potential new suppliers, finding out better ways of doing things, making those important connections which can really help spur your business on.
Now, connectivity, that is pretty much what you do, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, from a digital side of things.
From a digital side of things. Now, connectivity in the region, Mark and I were having a conversation earlier this morning behind the scenes about connectivity and the problems that we have with this region. Connectivity kind of keeps businesses running, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, absolutely. I mean, now more than ever before, businesses and homeowners are just so reliant on that digital connectivity and those fast, reliable broadbands like never before. It's just become such an important part of the way we live and work these days. But without it, we are effectively handicapped as a business or a homeowner.
And Rich, with regards to the university, you've obviously got the luxury of having such great connectivity at the university because you would do by very nature. But the business community are perhaps not as lucky, are they, when it comes to having that kind of data stream into their offices? Do you think that it becomes an issue? Does it hold businesses and organisations back?
I think all forms of connectivity are important, from data through to networks, through to great institutions like the chambers who bring people together to share knowledge. And as a region, we trade principally in knowledge. As a university, that's our principal commodity. So having connectivity into all sorts of things, from one-to-one relationships, one-to-many activities, great big events like this is incredibly important. And it's important for a whole number of reasons. One is that no one has absolute knowledge about everything. So coming together allows us to drive innovation because you get different perspectives. Different perspectives means new things breaking through, which means increased productivity. But I also have to say, without getting too deep into it at the minute, it also just bringing people together like this, bringing people together through a broader connectivity piece, is good for problem solving, and it's also good for conflict resolution as well. We're not all competing for the same thing, we're not all competing for the same space, and we can add value to each other.
And we were talking actually earlier in one of our earlier interviews about talent, about skills. Events like this, it's not just about selling to people and presenting to people, it is very much about engaging with each other and finding what's out there. And that also includes talent, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were just talking just off air just a minute ago. At Wildanet, we recently launched our training academy, and one of the things we're here today to talk about is the apprenticeship scheme and the opportunities we have available locally. So Wildanet, when I joined sort of 3 years ago, there was 25 people in the business. We now have 200 people in the business with plans to scale up to 300. And a big part of that is employing locally and training people locally through things like our new purpose-built training academy. And that benefits the local economy, and to be able to create those local jobs and train people locally is so key to what we're doing.
Now, Mark, obviously, as we said earlier, you're pretty much, when it comes to events in the city, everybody thinks of PR1 events. You've got a
very kind of you.
You've got
pay you later.
A CV that's probably longer than the roll-up banner behind you. You've got some pain points, or you've experienced some pain points when it's come to connectivity, especially when you've done things like live streams out in the middle of nowhere, or indeed in the middle of a business park, where you'd expect things to be a bit more plugged in.
Yeah, it was a real sort of step change for us as a business. Our background before COVID is broadcaster with BBC, ITV, Sky, working in the middle of nowhere. You would just bring along a satellite truck. COVID struck, and obviously everyone went on to Teams, and then post-COVID, everyone said, how do we now do a hybrid event? So actually our broadcast background made it really easy for us to go in with cameras, hijack people's teams, and actually do professional broadcast quality live streams. And actually we found, for us it was a two-pronged kind of challenge, because we had to run a business where we were on the minimal BT broadband because we were told we could get nothing else. And also trying to live stream. So actually, eventually, when we did manage to get a lease line into our premises, made a huge amount of difference. For one, the staff not saying, my internet is slow today. So, that was a huge step change. And actually going out and about, we work in MOD properties, we work in the sort of middle of nowhere, and actually it is really important, connectivity. We live stream Argyle TV, which appeared during the COVID because people couldn't go to the grounds. And actually, Argyle are in a really privileged position of being in that central sort of city corridor where we've got a gigabit line, 1,000 meg down, 1,000 meg up. And actually, that's really important, not only from a live stream perspective, but actually being able to send large files, media, the press. So actually, it is really, really important to think of a sort of city-wide issue. For us as a business, we're at PL7 on the outskirts of Plymouth, and actually we were told post-COVID 15 years to get you a really high-speed line.
How long, sir?
15 years.
15 years, okay.
Because we're working on the kind of central belt, and actually it's really important when business parks are built, and actually the east side of the city is expanding with Langage, and at Newnham there's probably been about 100 new units built at Newnham, but no increased connectivity from anyone else apart from BT and Openreach. So absolutely important to ensure business connectivity is at the forefront of people's minds when building new estates.
You're nodding away as though you're all too aware of this issue. How can it be fixed?
Absolutely. I mean, it's companies like Wildanet who are going in to fill those gaps. There are so many black spots in the region where there's just not that gigabit connection. I mean, only 55% of Devon has access to gigabit broadband compared to about 75% of the rest of the UK. So as a region, we are so far behind where we should be. So, with companies like Wildanet going out to the business parks, to when new business parks are being created, actually getting in there early to work with the developers to help put in that gigabit line is absolutely critical.
Rich?
I think it's interesting already, so the conversation is sort of spears into two areas. One is the hard tech need for connectivity that allows things to happen, the tools of the trade, and then there's the soft piece of connectivity which comes and is born from conversation, and again events such as this. And I think it's important on both counts to know why we're doing it, to what end, what value are we deriving from this, because we can all fill our diaries full of conversations and meetings and things to go, but what's the real impact it's making? And I think from the technical basis, you've got your clear metrics and data, you've got bottom line you can derive value from and measure it. But just as a quick anecdote, I was in a very large organisation in the city not so long ago, and I was waiting to go into the meeting, and I looked on the reception table, and there was the annual report, and the annual report talked about all the amazing things this business was doing in terms of its social conscience. It was doing lots of things around rewilding, it was doing things around children's nurseries, it was helping young entrepreneurs in the city, and I flicked through, and it was a great conversation piece, it was a great connecting me, it was making me aware, and I got to the back, and I was waiting for the what impact has it done? But it was just a story. There was no actual impact that we could measure from it. And as a university, that social impact is what we do. We help organisations understand why you're doing things and what value you're going to derive from it.
I think we're getting under the hood of quite a few things here, because I'm sure the three of us, or rather the four of us, including myself, we've all experienced situations whereby it's all been talk and no action.
And I think there's a danger through connectivity, as I say, for the sake of doing it, that what we create is white noise. We create what was called many years ago spin, and we don't want to be in that. Everything we do, we want to know why we're doing it and what value it's bringing to our community, to our customers, to our people, to our city, to our businesses, to our economy, to our environment. How do we measure that? And not just do things for the sake of doing it.
A few moments ago, Mark, you mentioned about business diversification and how when COVID hit, you had to flip your approach to various things and adapt and embrace new technologies, or rather technologies that existed but weren't deployed in the way that you rolled out at the time. That's obviously changed your mindset moving forward as an organisation. Do you think that the business leaders of tomorrow, those that are starting out in business now, do you think they're starting from a very different place than perhaps we all started out in business?
I think it's post-COVID. It was a clean sheet. So we were getting phone calls from multinationals saying, for years we've been live with 200 people in an auditorium. During COVID, we've been on Teams. We now don't know how to combine the two. And that's where we were bought in, and actually it was a really easy win for us to go in, and we were then, rather than broadcasting to 200 people within a live conference, we were then broadcasting to a global audience. So it enabled them for people, if we were hosting a conference in Plymouth, to bring in people in Dubai, people in Scotland, and actually for those people to have a three-way conversation. So it was kind of a new area, and these were big global businesses who had no experience how to do this. And connectivity was really, really important for us to be able to manage those events. And in fact, there was a couple of situations where there was zero connectivity. We had to deliver the event. So thanks to Mr. Musk, we went out and invested in Starlink. So satellite broadband, where there was no connectivity, and actually that meant we were able to deliver a number of events that we were otherwise have been able to.
Yeah, it's having a shift in mindset, isn't it? And as COVID's gone, thankfully, and hopefully it'll stay away, and as technology is changing, connectivity becomes improved, business mindset changes, doesn't it? The way that we all start out in business, the way that we look at the future of business changes. Does that mean that organisations, naturally I imagine the answer is yes, but does that mean that organisations like the University of Plymouth has to look a bit further ahead and try and predict the future shifts?
I think all organisations are in that future-proofing stage. I think, do you remember 2019 pre-COVID, the talk of the town was around automation. Automation now seems to be a norm. It's no longer something that's in the future. We're here now. Where we are now is around the application of AI, and then I think that future bit is the application of AI in automation, and that's quite a scary bit, and that will have implications for all organisations, because AI strips knowledge out and automation strips labour out. So where's that workforce going to look like in the future? And you talk about connectivity, how we're going to have a society that connects and actually can earn money and thrive.
And this future relies on an infrastructure to support it. How do you predict the needs of the future, and how are you working to adapt for things that you don't know are going to happen yet?
I think, to some of the previous points, what we're trying to do is future-proof the region. So, as tech advances, as applications advance, we have the bandwidth to cover that increased demand. Since COVID, the demand for just that connectivity and the bandwidth has increased to such an extent, with all the remote working, with more and more businesses needing that extra bandwidth, with more people streaming movies and entertainment at home. And that's only going to increase. So at Wildanet, what we're doing is we're making sure we are installing a network which is future-proof for the next 10, 15 years or more.
Mark?
Yeah, it's really hard to sort of future-proof, isn't it? I remember when I bought my last house, I kind of went in at the weekend and I put one satellite cable. 2 weeks later, Sky said, we're bringing out dual. Why didn't I put in two at the time? Because I didn't know. So actually, future-proofing is really, really important. What is coming next to enable us? What is the next thing around the corner? And I was going to say as well, we have seen a real step change again, through COVID, where we were doing these hybrid events. I think the big nationals and companies now really want to get back to live, and almost the remote has become secondary. So again, I think they are seeing the absolute importance of getting people face to face, and technology is almost now a secondary, whereas in COVID it was the primary means sort of communication, and you can't beat people meeting face to face. Events like this, conferences and events, and again, we're seeing the whole live conference industry coming back to the fore, where 200-300 people, 1,000 people are getting together and actually meeting face to face.
I would absolutely endorse that. I mean, whenever there's been sort of a step change in connectivity, if you look at the internet coming along, people wondered why on earth I needed to speak to another warm body ever again in my life, because all the answers were there via an Ask Jeeves that came to Google and whatnot. AI is the same. We're wondering why we would ever need to get together again, and the answer simply is because experiential learning isn't something that can be codified easily, and you only get that experiential learning and understanding, awareness and trust through actually having conversation.
Now, you've touched on AI. Let's just go down that road just a little bit, because I think we've all dabbled in it. What have your early experiences been of AI? Wildanet, have you embraced AI, or are you looking to embrace it within your organisation?
So we are keeping a very close eye on what the potential for AI has for businesses and the region as a whole. In terms of what we're doing, we're using techniques internally to be able to be more efficient with things, but things like ChatGPT, where that's going to go, I mean, it's anyone's guess, really, isn't it?
Have you used the latest version yet, where you can actually show it a picture or something?
No, I haven't personally.
It's quite something. Mark's a techie geek. I know that for a fact. How have you experienced it?
Absolutely not at all.
Have you avoided it?
Well, I don't think it's avoiding it. I just don't think so far we haven't had the requirement to do it. I kind of keep an eye on the news and what's going on and what's the news reports about everyone's hands up scared. But so far in our industry, not seen use or any use at all.
I think we're going to see something very similar to social media in the context of as a framework and as a structure. It can be incredibly powerful if used in the right way, but I think it still needs those standards or almost governance to be put in place so that businesses are using it in the right way.
Yeah,
I know that Richard would have had a fairly. You've been quite hands-on, because you've obviously got to integrate this into the future outlook for the university.
I mean, it has huge implications for any learning establishment where you can go to a source and readily have the answers available. But do you remember 20 years ago, that was what we called a library.
Yes, I remember them. Yeah.
3 years ago, it's what we call Google.
Yeah.
The only thing that's happening with the ChatGPTs and the likes at the moment is that instead of you going to a Google where it gives you a list of possible areas you can find the answer, it's already searched those areas for you and comes up with an answer. Now, where I don't think it's an issue going forward is in the space of innovation and that creative piece, because all it's doing is taking existing ideas, existing thinking in a codified way and applying it to the existing thinking and existing ideas that are already there. Innovation isn't that. Innovation is taking some existing thinking and applying it in a completely different and new circumstance, and that's what the AI can't do at the moment. It's very early doors, but I agree with everything that's here. It will provide challenges and it will provide opportunities, as most things do.
Excellent.
And just still can't beat professional knowledge. I had a situation recently where a medical professional said to me, is that medical knowledge or Google?
Well, really?
Yeah, and you kind of think, actually, that does make you think, doesn't it? You still can't beat that professional knowledge of any industry versus Google. And I think you always have to challenge it.
Yes.
If you look online.
Yes, absolutely. So we've all been in business for a very long time. You probably not so much. Well, actually, what am I saying?
You're too kind. I'll take that. Yes.
I'm predicting something there. And all business events like this give the opportunity for people in business from all backgrounds and all stages within their business life, career, size of organisation, types of organisation, to come and meet one another. Obviously, we've probably got some top tips. Mine would be put more cables in than you ever think you will ever need. And also, I want to ask, why do they never build houses with cable ducts? But anyway, what's your business advice that you'd like to give somebody?
For actually coming and looking around the show, or for exhibiting, or a bit of both?
Coming to look of business life in general.
I think having an open mind and being willing to have that conversation. Sometimes some of the most beneficial opportunities I've explored has been through something that wasn't planned, just through that odd conversation. Suddenly that sparks inspiration for, this could really help with another area of my business. Mm-hmm. So I would say keep an open mind and don't be afraid to have those open conversations.
Excellent. Mark?
My advice is use YouTube, the most underused platform on the planet. If you think now, the majority of people who've got a smart TV in their front room, you can sit on your sofa and watch YouTube. For us, it's the most used platform we use for live streaming. It's free, and actually you can stream to a global audience. It's so underused for businesses, and I think it's a huge opportunity for businesses to get their messages out there, on a sort of global scale, free.
Excellent. And we'll close with some words of wisdom from Rich Adams, as always.
The sage owl at last. Well, I'd say two things, really. One is leave space in your day for something like this for the unknown, because that's the point of it. You come along with an open mind. But equally, use technology. Use things like LinkedIn to make appointments in advance. Encourage people to come along and have those kind of sessions where you can grab a coffee. Comes back to, you want to come away with something, measure some impact from it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us and talking about connectivity, AI, and basically life, the universe, and everything, because we went down a few roads there.
You're welcome.
But thankfully, we reversed back at them. And before we go, we'd just like to say hello to Cornerstone Vision. They're here. Barclaycard Premier Payment Services are here as well. Swoop Finance Finder and also Business Action. Do come down to Plymouth Pavilions for the Devon Business Show 2023.